Red Zone Politics. I'm Ann Cook. This is the first installation of our news zone where we interview average voters about their thoughts on the upcoming election. Red Zone Politics was my way of establishing a presence on the web to promote my book, which is called Democrats in the Red Zone, an independent voter's take on the game of political perception. And in the book, I talk about areas of race and morality that cause the Democrats in particular the biggest perception headaches, and what they can do about it and how they can combat existing perceptions within the voting majority of some of their primary constituencies. In particular, pro-choice women, gay rights movement, and many African Americans. And my hope is that everybody will see themselves as an ambassador for the cause and understand how to fight some of those perception biases themselves at the local level, day-to-day basis with our fellow Americans, and also to keep your antennae up when you're watching the news and be very aware of how different commentators are trying to spin the facts to try to get you to sign on to policies based on prejudices rather than facts. Today I have two guests from Virginia. They're both veterans of the Vietnam War. John Polk is a former Marine and a Vietnam vet. He currently practices law in Virginia, considers himself a centrist Democrat. Dick Class is a retired Air Force colonel and Vietnam veteran. He supported McCain in 2000. Last night, Nancy Pelosi, the House Speaker, emerged from talks with Henry Paulson, who was the Treasury Secretary, Bush's Treasury Secretary, and Ben Bernanke, the chairman of the Fed, as well as some Republican colleagues in the Senate and House, to announce that they had in fact decided that they were going to bail out AIG, a major insurance company, this in the wake of several other possible merger talks, possible mergers between companies on Wall Street. And we're going to first ask John what he thinks of the current situation and why Obama may have a better program than McCain. Okay, John, what do you think?
Well, Ann, there's no question that our economic situation is a real mess. And I think we have to look at how we got into this situation. We got here because of an overdose of neoconservative economic philosophy. The belief that unregulated free markets would solve every problem, and they won't. One of the people who has bought into that philosophy, who has drunk that Kool-Aid, is John McCain. He's been a standard neoconservative on economic issues for years. He's been an advocate of unregulated free markets. He supported the deregulation of the financial industries in 1999 when Congress enacted the Graham-Leach-Bliley bill, named in part after John McCain's good friend and economic advisor Phil Gramm. This is how we got there. I have no confidence at all that John McCain and the Republicans can fix this problem. I think Hillary Clinton said it the best when she said expecting the Republicans to fix this problem is like expecting the iceberg to rescue the Titanic.
Dick, do you have anything to add to what John just said about McCain's policies on the economy?
No, except that you don't know what McCain's policies on the economy are day to day. He started out this week saying the fundamentals were sound when everybody knew they weren't, and when McCain discovered it, then he said he meant the workers as the fundamentals being sound. I mean, McCain is now trying to sell himself as a man of the people and a friend of the working class, but this is a guy who voted against increases in the minimum wage 19 times over his House and Senate career.
Why would somebody do that? What is the purpose of voting against the minimum wage?
The reason is that business doesn't like it. And McCain has always been a creature of business. Remember, this is not the first time we've seen this game. This is worse than ever before. But remember the savings and loan crisis of the early 1980s, where McCain was one of the chief architects, and we'd had to have a bailout of the savings and loan. Now we want to bail out the banks who have made these terrible loans, but I don't think McCain will really stand up and fight for also including in the bailout help for homeowners who are about to lose their homes.
I don't really understand politically how the Republicans can continue to justify this business of bailing out the big guys, taking care of the big guys, this business where people put their capital at risk, and it's the taxpayers that take on the risk, and it's the investors who reap the rewards, or the executives of these investment companies, that if there's a profit, they'll make it, but if there's a loss, the taxpayers take it. How do Republicans justify that system?
And I think what's happened is that the Republicans finally realized that they are facing possibly a major collapse of our financial system, which could lead to a huge depression. I think what has happened to them is they are finally coming up to the realization, they're facing the realization that the neoconservative economic philosophy of unregulated free markets simply hasn't worked, but they don't want to admit it. And they probably never will come right out and admit it. And that's why we're facing this disaster. And furthermore, I think that what we're seeing here is the influence by foreign investors on our economic policy. I think foreign national banks and foreign investors have been forcing some of these bailouts because we owe foreign investors huge amounts of money. We have a national debt that is over $9.5 trillion.
How am I going to directly feel that in the coming years?
Well, that huge deficit is an anchor around the neck of our economy. It's like an anvil around the neck of our economy. We are spending so much money financing that debt that it's taking money away that could be invested in the economy, that could grow the economy. And we've gotten there because of these huge deficits, which have been run up largely in part by George Bush. When Bill Clinton was in office, we had 4 years of budget surpluses, and we had gotten to the position where finally we could have begun paying down the national debt.
Let me ask you a question about that. People will say that certainly after '94 and Gingrich and the boys came into power in the House, that wasn't all Bill Clinton's doing. What do you have to say to that?
Well, it wasn't all Bill Clinton's doing because, of course, the president doesn't control the economy in the way that some central command economies are controlled around the world. But the fact is that Bill Clinton did have the courage in 1993 to push through a tax increase. And that tax increase had the effect of starting to chisel down the annual deficits. It increased investor confidence. And that, coupled with the growth of the internet and I think also the peace dividend from the decline of the Cold War, really got the economy moving. Now, what I see Obama trying to do, faced with an enormously difficult problem, I mean, this is a huge problem. I see his approach as a fairly balanced approach. He wants to stimulate the economy short term to get it stabilized and get it growing again. He wants balanced tax cuts. His tax cut, he's in favor of tax cuts for people making families making less than $250,000 a year. He wants to increase taxes on people making above that, and increase certain corporate taxes and have a windfall profits tax for the oil companies.
Wait, can we clarify one thing?
Yeah.
Is it $250 per family or per individual?
Individuals making less than $200,000 and spouses, husband and wife filing jointly, making less than $250,000.
Okay.
So under his plan, there will be no tax increases for people under those two numbers, 200, 250. Not income, not dividend, not capital gains. There's not going to be any tax increases on those people.
If you're a domestic partner and you file separately, does that mean that basically if you're a couple living together and you each make, you won't be taxed on the first $200,000 of your income? In other words, you can be making $400,000 as a couple before your taxes are going to go up?
That's correct if you file separately.